Violence and destruction of property have been a hallmark of the left. You've seen it with the George Floyd riots and the destruction of billions of amounts of property, and the that resulted in also many deaths. You also see it with the destruction of Teslas and the burning of Teslas after Elon Musk helped Donald Trump get elected. And you see it with what happened in LA after Trump got elected, where they burned down Waymos, just destroyed property, and there was active vandalism. And this has not been solved by any of these governments. And it's particularly worse in Europe as they continue to not solve the issue. And this has resulted in this most recent attack. Left-wing militants claim responsibility for arson attack on Berlin power grid. Protests over climate crisis and AI has cut power to tens of thousands of homes, which may take days to fully restore. And this is in the dead of winter. It's right in the middle of winter, where you see where heating and having electricity is extremely important for people. As without the heating and electricity, particularly in Germany and in Europe, it gets cold, really cold. In fact, it snowed, I believe, when after the attack on the power grid, and this makes it where it's extremely cold for people in the houses, which leads to hypothermia and other related issues related to the cold. So it's incredibly necessary for you to have there to be the power grid in Germany in this time, and yet this attack on the power grid has cut that off for tens of thousands of people, causing massive harm. But let's actually read their statements about this, because it makes absolutely no sense. In a 250-word pamphlet seen by The Guardian, which police spokesman called credible, the group said it aimed to cut the juice of the ruling class. It condemned greed for energy produced by high emissions fossil fuels, calling the attack an action in the public interest and an act of self-defense by and international solidarity with those who protect the earth and life. So they're protesting green energy at this time, when they are also attacking green energy and saying it's self-defense. That makes no sense. They're not attacking you. The companies are actually helping the people there. Having this energy being produced is critical for hospitals, for homes, for the poor, so they could actually be able to have heating for their houses. It's important for them. Otherwise, they won't have that, and it will result in harm. It will result in higher rates of disease, because when you're cold, you're more likely to catch a cold and more likely to catch a virus. It's hard, your immune system falls down, decreases. If you're cold, you're more likely to. If you don't have heating, you're more likely to have hypothermia, which is definitely life-threatening. So it doesn't make sense for that. It's not self-defense. In fact, the people that are doing this are actively attacking the people in the city of Berlin, because now those people that were reliant on electricity to have those critical, important services and the important need of having your house heated now don't have that, and it puts their life in danger. And it causes massive problems. So let's further read on. In the message, which included details from the Vulcan Group, I think that's what it says. It said that data centers used for AI were exacerbating the problems of climate-damaging energy consumption while creating dangers for society. We are contributing to our own surveillance, and it's comprehensive. The tech corporations are in the hands of men with power, which we give them. The group said. One day we will simply sit before bright screens or dead machines while dying ourselves of thirst and hunger. The group wished to apologize for less off who had been affected by the power cut, but said it had said its sympathies was limited. For many, the villa, many for many the for the many villa owners now in the dark. The area is affected by power cuts, which includes many elderly care homes and hospitals, which is as well as high-rise buildings and with residents who are reliant on elevators are now out of order. Berlin received a moderate snowfall at the weekend, and nighttime temperatures plunged below freezing. Berlin mayor, so basically, it was in the middle of winter. They're claiming that that the companies are being greedy, as you saw up here. Greed for energy. They're being greedy for the energy, yet they cut the energy off from people that need it, particularly the elderly. And the elderly are going to be more susceptible to these cold as they're older, their immune systems are not working as well. They're harder to move around. And as I mentioned, a lot of these are high rise, so they rely on elevators, and particularly the elderly have a hard time going up and down the stairs as they're older. So they might be trapped up there. And that means that they can't get out, they can't move to a place where there's actual heating now. And this is harmful to the entire area. And it's going to likely result, and in fact it has resulted, in a death. A death from the cold here in Berlin. If you look at here, breaking, the left-wing terror attack on the energy infrastructure in Berlin has claimed a life after 83-year-old woman was found lifeless in her apartment with severe hypothermia. A relative found the woman, and rescue workers tried to unsuccessfully resuscitate her. Her death was due to the blackout, was confirmed by Berlin Police Vice President Marco Lenger. But yeah, so it has even caused a death. And this is what happens when you have these type of terrorist attacks that result in energy being cut off to people. In fact, and it's incredibly harmful to the group, to people in the area. Again, it's not just this 83-year-old woman. There's other people that are now suffering too. It's disrupted their entire work. It's disrupted people's work, their livelihoods. They have to move out. They lose a whole bunch of money because of this, and it actually hurts the poor even more, because now they even if they it hurts the poor in the area even more, as now they might have to go without pay because their the place of work is shut down and can't do anything. So in situations like this, it's not, the group is incredibly misguided, and it causes harm to others. Additionally, when mentioned their goals are climate. But if you look down here, they actually have worked against that goal of climate in the past. In March 2024, the Vulcan Group claimed an arson attack on a pylon at the Tesla Gigafactory outside Berlin that cut off electricity to the plant, temporarily halting production. So even then, if they claimed their goal is protecting the climate, they are actively attacking, arguably, the most important company in terms of climate change. Because Tesla was the company that ended up kicking off the EV revolution within the car industry. They're the ones that have really invested in battery technology for solar power plants. They're the ones that have invested a decent amount of money into solar panels. So, attacking the company itself, while trying to say, attacking the company that's one of the most important companies for climate change, while saying that you're also fighting for climate change in this other attack, makes zero sense for the group itself. So their goals are obvious here. It's not based on sound reason and sound logic. It's not based on that at all. In fact, it's based on the exact opposite. It's just ideology and hating on the rich people. And even though that, again, people are Tesla has helped climate change the most, and that's their claimed goal. It makes zero sense at all. They're completely have inconsistent logic. Their logic is completely inconsistent, and it's stupid. Additionally, the government has it doesn't make any sense at all, none at all. And again, another claim that they had was that they're fighting for the poor, and they're fighting greedy corporations to protect the poor. But again, the attack does the exact opposite. So all of these are logically inconsistent, make no sense, harm people, and the government does not do anything about it, even if they know the group, in fact they know. In fact, the government doesn't do anything about it, and they actually know about it. In its 2024 annual security report, Germany's domestic intelligence watchdog cited repeated attacks on the regional power grid by the Vulcan Group, which it classes as left-wing extremists, as a left-wing extremist organization. The group, believed to be about 14-year-old, chose its targets for palpable effects on the population, intending to cause destruction, requiring painstaking, lengthy repairs with little concern and collateral damage. This just shows that they knew about the group, yet they did nothing to try to investigate and try to take down the leaders of the group at all. They haven't done anything about it. And a lot of the times they know who's in charge of this. You saw this with, in fact, the Bondi Beach shooting in Australia. They knew about the person. The Australian government knew about the terrorists that were attacking. They had clear connections to ISIS, and they were being washed, yet the government didn't do anything about it. This is another incident of that happening in Germany, where it's a completely separate country, yet this shows across the entire West. Governments they're not willing to do what is necessary to actually protect the people, and fight these terrorist groups. In fact, a lot of the times they don't do anything, yet they continue to focus on other issues, and particularly focus on right-wing groups. As earlier last year, Germany unveils measures to tackle far-right surge. When have we heard of a far-right terrorist attack in Germany in the last how many years? 10 years, even. You don't really hear about this. You see more Islamist terrorist attacks. You see more of the left-wing terrorist attacks, like this one here. You see the ones where, for example, an Islamist terrorist attack where there was a car that was where an Islamist group ended up running a car through a Christmas market, resulting in the death of many people. You don't really see right-wing terrorist attacks within Germany, yet they continue to focus on right-wing groups and try to limit their power. Yet it's the left wing that's the terrorist groups, the ones that are causing actual substantial damage to the people in Germany and the people across the nation, and across the Europe. And this is a massive issue. And in fact, earlier this year, in May, AfD was classified as a extreme right group by German intelligence, and they're basically they're continuing to focus on right-wing extremism. And the AfD, which is the main party, which is the most popular party in Germany, they continue to focus on those groups. It is the most popular party, according to polls anyways, because if you look at here, 27%. That's the AfD ESN. That's the right-wing group. And they continue to focus on those the right groups when it's the left groups that are causing the violence. It makes no sense. Unless the government itself is being controlled by left-wing groups. And in fact, that's what's happening in Germany. Right now, they're controlled by the CSDU and the SDP. I think that's the SPD. And those are left-wing groups. Well, the SDU is more center, but SPD is definitely on the left. And they continue to target political groups. And this is simply, and the only reason they're really allowed to do that is because there is no First Amendment within Germany. There's no First Amendment within. In fact, the only nation that has a right to free speech in the entire world is America. We have that enshrined in our Constitution, and you can't change it. But they don't have it, and that's resulted in the government targeting right-wing groups when it's the left-wing groups that are the problem. Because if they target right-wing groups, it just benefits the own leadership there. In fact, you've seen it particularly you've seen it throughout Europe when people are being arrested for online tweets criticizing the government and criticizing particularly immigration. Immigration still continues to be the massive issue that a lot of the people on the right continue to criticize. And yet, whenever you criticize that, it results in you being arrested. This is also linked to this incident too, as left-wing as the government actually ended up helping out refugees, people from outside the country, before helping out the elderly and cancer patients and people that are more reliant on this. And you can see this with the AF Post here, where after a left-wing terrorist attack left much of Berlin without power and heat, German officials evacuated refugees and left the elderly and cancer patients in the cold. So they're helping out a group of people that aren't even supposed to be in the nation, that are not the actual citizens there. They're helping out that group before the people that need it more than anyone else. That in fact resulted in the death of an actual elderly person. These governments are clearly trying to buy their own voters and trying to bow down to the international community. And that has to stop. Or also get more incidents like what happened here. Like what happened with this attack by a left-wing extremist group. You'll get more incidents of that happening. You'll get more incidents that result in the death of an 83-year-old. You'll get more incidents across the board if they continue to do nothing about this, and if they continue to suppress right-wing groups. Additionally, with this, they didn't give any financial aid to the people that are actually there, but yet spent billions more on migrant accommodation. Berlin spends billions on migrant accommodation, but asked its own residents surviving in freezing, dark apartments to cough up for hotel stays. They're not helping their own people. They're actively preferring people from outside the country, and this has to stop. The goal of a government is to help the people within their own nation, not people from out, but their own people. That's their goal. That should be their only goal. Yet governments like this continue to help out others and actively harm their own nation instead of helping out the people that they are supposed to serve. And it's just, I don't have any words for that. It's beyond stupid. That's what I should say. It's beyond any reasonable lawmaker's decision making. And it's showing a level of corruption and it's showing a level of their own corruption as they're trying to import voters for themselves. So this has to stop. But yet the mainstream media continues to cover it up. For example, here's CNBC. This is their covering of the terrorist attack. It says protests over AI crisis leave tens of thousands without power in Berlin. That is intentionally framing, misframing the entire thing. It was not a protest. There wasn't people in the streets. There weren't people in the streets protesting with signs. It was just a lone group attacking someone else. And that is the definition of terrorism. And yet the media continues to misframe and hide this left-wing terrorism. If you don't hate the this just shows how much you should hate the mainstream media and hate media itself. Because when you have incidents like this that are being purposely misframed, it's obvious that they're lying, and obvious that you shouldn't really listen to what's going on. You should look at it yourself. Go do your own research, and don't let these big media corporations really tell you what's going on, because they're obviously lying. They obviously misframe, and this is not the only incident there. You see it with the stuff that's going on in the U.S. and the shooting of the lady by an ICE agent in Minnesota. It was obviously self-defense by every legal standard. Yet the media continues to frame it by saying that the ICE agent killed the person, that murdered the person. No. The media continues to lie. And if you don't hate them enough, this is another reason to hate them again. So, honestly, I think a lot of these media corporations do need to be held accountable in some way, because a lot of the times, again, they're lying here. They're misframing things. And you need to somehow hold them accountable. I don't know exactly how that doesn't violate the freedom of speech, but these need to be held accountable. And I think the most basic thing that a person can do right now, just a single person, not like government policy, would be to just not listen, not subscribe, do not give money to these groups, to these mega corporations that obviously lie. That is, in my opinion, the thing that we could do to stop this. And maybe government should do, or, you could have defamation laws. For example, right now, Donald Trump's suing the BBC for maliciously editing a video saying that he advocated for the protest on January 6th and advocated for them to break into the Capitol. That's a good way to do it too, to have defamation cases. The thing is, that's kind of hard and that's kind of tough to argue defamation in these cases. So I don't know exactly how you would set up a law to where it doesn't violate the freedom of speech and freedom of the press, while holding these media corporations accountable. But as an individual, just stop watching. Just stop listening. Stop and continue to criticize this type of stuff that comes from the media. So overall, this incident in Germany is just it's total shit show, both from the government side, the media side, and law enforcement side. They continue to not not do anything about this left-wing protest. They continue to target right-wing groups. You've also seen this with X. You've seen it with I mentioned AFD earlier, where they target AFD, and they continue to not address the left-wing part. They continue to not, and then the media continues to hide it and disregard everything. So it's an overall shit show. It's horrible, and it's a mess from the left wing. But hopefully something's done about this. Hopefully people are voting in. In fact, I think people are being fed up, because if I looked at this earlier, the poll, the AFD, what is considered far right, is the most popular group in Germany. You've seen it with the increasing of reform. You see it with Donald Trump's win in the U.S. So overall, just vote for stuff like this. Don't pay attention. Don't give media your money. Stop listening to them. Go over to independent sources and just advocate for policies that would actually stop this. And I think that's all. And everyone, thanks for watching. I will see everyone next time. If you have anything to say it down in the comments. Like and subscribe. Share it with someone you know. And I'll see you guys next time.